Hey everyone, welcome back to FedBiz Exchange. I'm Michelle Brown, your coach and your mentor. Today, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about something very important that you really need to learn and think about when you're making your strategy for bidding. I always talk to you about the way to win is to bid, bid, bid. And I know in the beginning it can be a little bit frustrating, but understanding how contracts are formed and the stages of the contract is going to help you to get ahead and feel very comfortable with your bidding strategy. So listen up. So let's talk about the stages of a federal contract. There are 4 stages, and here's why it's important for you to understand these stages. The reason it's important is because you can get ahead and you will feel like you're not always rushing to try and complete a bid or follow opportunities. You could actually use this strategy to manage any agency that you want to work with. You just track what they're doing. But what this means is that the government has set up a way for small businesses to be in a position to compete. You have time to figure out what's going on. So, in the first phase, the forecast report or the forecast opportunities, you go to the agency's website and you can find a forecast report that identifies all of the opportunities that are up and coming within the fiscal year. So it could be within the next 30 days, the next 60 days, the next 90 days, but they tell you which quarter they're going to put out the opportunity. They tell you the NACE code for the opportunity, maybe even the PSC code. They give you a description of the opportunity and they put it on a spreadsheet so that you can see any other like opportunities. And then they tell you who the incumbent is if it's a current opportunity. So that's a big deal. That could sit there for a couple of months or it could be ready to go in 30 days or so. The point is that they tell you even when they're planning to put it out to bid and when they're planning to award the opportunity. So this is preparation and strategy. That's how you should see this. And I suggest that if you see something like that, you want to know if it's still on track, just write to the contracting officer and ask them. But don't blindly send them emails about marketing things. You're not going to get a response, but you will get a response for forecast report questions or for forecast opportunities or opportunities that you've heard about through other means, other communication. So keep in mind, don't try to talk to contracting officers when they're not trying to buy something because they will think that you're trying to get favoritism, which you're not, but because you guys don't know that. But just try to keep it strategic. And I have a video coming out on how to communicate with contracting officers, okay? Federal buyers, same thing. Federal buyers are contracting officers. So forecasts get you ahead of the game. You can put that on your tracking sheet and say, I need to contact them to have this on my tracking sheet and make sure that this opportunity is coming up in the third quarter and it's still good. So that's how you use a forecast report. If you are an 8A company, this is a huge strategy for you. There are not enough 8A opportunities out there. So 8As have to create their own. If you are a small business, woman-owned, veteran, just regular small business, hub zone, this is a strategy for you too, but you should use this all the time. 8A struggle with finding 8A set-asides. That's why I'm mentioning them. And they don't know how to figure out, how do I get ahead? Well, this is the way for all of you as a small business or as small businesses to get ahead. No excuses. The government actually made forecast reporting a law that all agencies have to follow because small businesses felt left out. The large companies, they know what's going on. They have all kinds of systems and they spend a lot of money and grease a lot of palms to find out what's going on. So that's the first stage. The second stage is the sources sought. And I've talked to you guys about the sources sought. I've done videos about it. Sources sought are very important, but they go from, or I should say, the sources sought derive from the forecast report. So they go from the forecast report to the sources sought. By the time they get to the sources sought, you need to understand the process for getting closer to the solicitation has started. So in the sources sought, they're just looking for how they want to plan out the strategy. Do they want it to be a small business set aside? Sometimes on the forecast report, though, they've already decided. But that doesn't mean that it is guaranteed to stay that way, because sometimes they may think to themselves, they are not seeing evidence that if they've had it on the forecast report as a 8A or on the forecast report as a veteran owned, they don't see enough activity out there for this type of work. So they may put out a sources sought, or maybe on the forecast report, it didn't have a category. Maybe it wasn't a set aside, but it should be a set aside. Because remember, anything that is from $3,000 all the way up to $300,000, thanks to President Obama during the recovery, must go to a small business. So if they suspect that a small business or small businesses are not out there and may not respond to this sources sought, then they're going to have to do some inquiry. They're going to have to do some research, what they call market research, on you or people like you. So when you see these, you need to respond, because you could be the only one that responds. They will give you a good amount of time to get this done. Sometimes they're kind of fast, but most of the time they give about 7 to maybe 15 days for people to respond, because they want a good response rate. They don't guarantee that it's going to turn into a solicitation, but 90+% of the time it does turn into a solicitation. Okay, so when you see these, I call these golden nuggets. You need to respond to them, because that means they're getting ready. And they tell you they're not guaranteeing that they'll put out a solicitation, but most of the time they will. So just respond to it. But not only that, remember what I said marketing is. Marketing is responding to a contracting officer, a federal buyer that is asking you for something. That's your opportunity to get in front of them. So why are you not responding? Get your capability statement, send that along with the questions that they've asked you. And you can create a template for a sources sought so that you're ready and that they're quick. A lot of people feel like they don't have time. Well, you're just walking past an opportunity. Don't do it then. You just won't win if you're not looking for every opportunity to win. So that's what the sources sought is. They're getting ready, but they're trying to decide, do we make this a set aside? And they're also trying to decide in some cases, do we even have a company out there, specifically a small business of any type, any size, that is considered small business that can do this job? That's the conversation. They're trying to decide, how do we solicit this opportunity? Is it to veterans? Is it to women? Is it to hub zone people? Who's going to get this opportunity? Okay. Then there's number 3, stage 3. It goes from the sources sought to the pre-solicitation. The pre-solicitation, you don't have to do anything. And it's very confusing to a lot of people, because they see the pre-solicitation and they think, okay, Michelle, what do I do with this? And they look at me crazy when I say nothing. You just wait until the solicitation comes out. And they're like, well, why do they do this? They do this as a preparation for what they're about to do. They're giving you another head start. They're letting you know the solicitation will be out on this date at this time. It is your responsibility to look for it and respond properly. That's what they're telling you. And usually you have 30 to 45 days during that state. Now, you can talk to a contracting officer during stage 2, sources sought, stage 1, forecast opportunities, and also you can talk to them in stage 3 before it goes into solicitation mode. Okay? Now, pre-solicitation helps a lot of people, but most people forget. They get frustrated. Oh, I didn't have enough time to do the solicitation. Well, they had a pre-solicitation if you were doing what I taught you to do following, tracking, bidding, looking at your opportunities every single day, you would miss it. So a pre-solicitation is a very key tool for you to say, okay, I'm ready. I will be ready when the solicitation comes out. Again, you usually have 30 to 45 days until you get to the solicitation. The last stage is 4, which is the solicitation. Now you're ready to bid. Now the contracting officer is saying, okay, we have to award this contract by the second quarter. Here's the solicitation. If you're interested, go ahead and give us your best. And that's it. But do you see how you could use this information to pre-plan? A lot of people that don't know what they're doing don't realize that you're frustrated because you don't know where to start. That's why I'm giving this education. This is very powerful. And if you use it and think about it and use it properly, you will be ahead. You won't be frustrated. You'll find, even if you don't get to the forecast, you will at least pay attention to the sources, thoughts, and the pre-solicitations. And when you're in FBO or Fed Connect, you should look for sources, thoughts, pre-solicitations, and solicitations. And that's how you'll keep up. Okay? And that's it. Now, one last thing. Once the contracting officer collects all of the bids, they evaluate who the winner is, they make the offer, and it turns into a contract.